Get started. Hoping everyone can hear me and we're good to go. So today I'm just going to, we had a session earlier in Housing Week and we kind of got into GEF in general terms. So basically what we offer seniors in terms of our different programs. Today, I'm going to just go through and touch base on some of that, but I'm really going to take some time to look at the application form itself, the information that needs to be included, and kind of what the next steps are from there. So I might not spend a lot of time in all of these slides, but we're just going to do some of the basic information, and then we'll really look at the difference between apartment and lodge and what that application looks like, and go from there. Uh, there we go. So basically, we're going to start with a land acknowledgement. So I just need to recognize that we are gathered in collaboration and with joint purpose on Treaty 6 territory. This territory is home and gathering place for diverse Indigenous people. This includes the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, Dene, Inuit, and many others. We know the importance of the treaty and our responsibility to these communities, and that only in partnership can we truly create the social change necessary to end homelessness. So, a little bit about GEF. We are celebrating our 65th anniversary in this year. We've done a lot of lovely projects to to celebrate, sorry. And basically what we really celebrate is that we have had 65 years
Perfect
providing
for them, but there's
quality,
a wait list. There's
accessible.
about 80 applicants. Some of them were waiting in shelters at Home Mission and Herb Jameson.
Hey, I'm just going to ask if you're on. Can you just make sure that you're muted? I'm just getting some feedback.
And I know, but that was perfect. Hmm.
So today, so basically GF today is one of the largest providers of subsidized seniors housing in Alberta, and we have close to 4,000 seniors that are living within our communities. We have apartment buildings and lodges, so I'll talk a bit about the difference of those two programs. So basically, apartment, what we're looking at is the same thing that you would live in a market value, so out in the community. The difference is for us, apartments, all of the people living in the apartment program are seniors, meaning that they are 65 years and older. They're all independent in terms of their daily tasks, so cooking, shopping, cleaning, life. Yeah, they're just all 65 or older. All of our buildings, apartment buildings, are accessible. So they are all able ramps or elevators or such to get in the buildings. The suites themselves, the units themselves, we have a variety of different ones. Some are have walk-in showers, some are actual barrier free, so they can accommodate wheelchair or indoor scooters. The apartment program is the rent is calculated at 30% of each individual's annual income. So you could have, several different seniors living in similar type units, and they're all paying something different because the rent is geared at 30% of the income. That income is based on the notice of assessment, the line 15,000. So we'll talk about it a bit later, but in the application process, are asking for the inclusion of your most recent notice of assessment because that line 15,000 is where we're pulling that annual income from. In the apartments, there's a lot of programming, but it's all tenant or volunteer led. When we look at the lodge program, which is the other option, the only difference, it's still independent. The seniors are still coming and going as they please, living their life as they please. The difference being that some supports are added. So in the units themselves are more like a studio, and there isn't a kitchen in them, although a lot of seniors get like a mini fridge or such. But the meals are in a common dining room. They're basically buffet style with menus that are posted up, choices. So the lodges having that meal program. We also have housekeeping provided. So in terms of each individual space, they come in once a week and do a cleaning of their bathroom, their living space. The option, if the senior has a single bed in their room, is they'll change the bedding, they change the towels. So really and truly, it's just your own personal laundry that is left. There is 24-hour staffing. None of the staff on site are medical staff. We do work with and accommodate home care through Alberta Health Services, but Alberta Health Service follows the senior. It's not a part of the building itself. The other thing in the lodge program is a lot of the activities are they can be a combination of tenant-led, volunteer, and then we have an activity and wellness coordinator in each of the lodges that does some of the formal programming and runs some of the large annual bigger events like we have an annual barbecue or a holiday event or Christmas events. The lodge program has also the 30% rental rate. But in addition to that, there is a lodge fee. That lodge fee currently stands at $950. And what that covers is all of the utilities, the meals, the housekeeping, the 24-hour staff. Some of the misconceptions regarding seniors housing. Some people have an idea that they're moving into I'm using quotes, home, and they feel that they're going to lose their independence or there's a stereotype to it. Really and truly, when I'm working with a senior or talking with them, it is their home and they are the ones that guide what that community looks like. And we really are looking at a really healthy, engaged place for them to live. So I always tell seniors that like attracts like. So when you're in a senior, you're in a lodge, there can be as busy as you want or as quiet as you want. There's always something going on, and there's always a group that will share your common interests. So we really do promote independence. There's a focus on overall wellness. So we really are gearing towards moving so that we're engaging the seniors' interests, and that's physical, social, emotional, looking at sharing those skills and abilities. And we believe that seniors are lifelong learners, and how can we work to engage those learning opportunities? We really are striving towards option and choice. Recognizing that, seniors come with a lifelong of experience and gifts. And for those that are wanting to explore or share those gifts, what a great thing that they can give back into their community. Social isolation. Oh my goodness, you guys. Too much coffee this morning. Isolation really came to our attention over COVID. So many seniors that had been highly engaged or kind of running through the day-to-day life were forced to look at what it's like when they were just on their own. And it really helped us in terms of how are we reaching out to seniors? Not everyone is an extrovert and wants to participate and engage in planned activities. So how are we going to look at getting seniors engaged in activities, whether it's in an individual or group setting? So the isolation has become a huge issue. I also oversee, I didn't introduce myself, sorry. My name is Denise, and I oversee the housing application process for GEF, and also we have a social work team. So on that end of things, when we look at people who are feeling really isolated, seniors who are maybe don't have or are removed from family and social supports, we're really looking at how can we increase the social engagement for them on their own terms, right? Meeting them where they're at. Quality of life, it's something that GEF has developed several years ago, and we really are putting this into practice. The hope is that it's not just a poster that we all kind of pass by, but it's really what, no matter what our role is within GEF, that we're really putting this into our day-to-day practice. And the idea is just really to recognize that seniors are looking for a safe, affordable, comfortable place to age in place, and to just thrive. So the things that we look at to guide that philosophy is we really are looking both within our staffing group and our work with seniors and their families and the community is respecting and understanding choice and dignity, well-being, respect, kindness, compassion, accountability. So these words really are the guiding things that we emulate in the work that we're doing. Appointment program we already looked at. When we talk about the engagement that we're looking to support seniors, so we're really looking at a tenant-led model. So what that means is that we're not just creating programs or guidelines within the apartment or the lodge that we feel suits us. We really are looking for our tenants to guide what that's going to look like. So we do yearly tenant and resident surveys, the having the AW or the activity and wellness on site. We have outreach workers on site. So we're always looking at feedback both from seniors and our staff that are engaged in day-to-day activities. And what we're finding is every community, every site is a wee bit different. The way that I say it is they have their own biosphere. So each building has created by their tenant group and their own sort of interests and activities, and we're really trying to support that. So the tenant program, what does that mean? So it's a lot of
Is
words, but what does it look like?
that
So we've had at one of our buildings, Westlawn,
family
which is a really
still
artistic community. And so they've had more than one where they organize and highlight the
a
artists
scene
in their
from has
building,
already
and
been
they
like
have
an
art
art
shows.
show or like something like a game, so I can't see him playing
Sorry,
games.
guys. Again, if you have can you just double check that if your mic is on, that it's muted? Knox Met, we've had some seniors that were new to Canada, and we celebrated their citizenship ceremonies. They do dinners, they do all kinds of social events and pub nights. And so what we look at is really supporting them to do the things they want to do instead of us being the ones that are guiding and dictating that. Uh, Oh, these are some pictures of the art shows. The lodge program, we try and do that same thing. So we talked about the differences between lodge. So in the lodge, one of the big differences is that we have activity and wellness coordinators. So their role is really to support the residents and building and running programs that are of interest to them. So we have special events that happen each year. We have that we're trying to make sure that we're incorporating family and friends and helping the seniors celebrate the community they live in. So yeah, we've had some lovely like summer carnivals and festivals. There are always the holiday events and winter carnivals. So we're looking at having the activity and wellness be the guide for that and supporting, but it really is the tenants that sort of guide what that's going to look like for them. There are regular bus outings. Those are special events. Sometimes it's, going to the racetrack for the afternoon. Sometimes it could be to a mall for holiday shopping. There's different things going on. The outings are optional. The seniors are able to sign up if they'd like to access those outings. We really look at a community-focused approach, and what that means is that are we really looking at how the residents are proud of and engaged in the community they're living in. So some of the things that we use to work through that practice is resident involvement, the dimensions of wellness, trying to be inclusive, looking at what's going on in the community itself and how can we participate or engage in or collaborate in community events. We look at intergenerational programming. The holidays are just like this most lovely time. A lot of the elementary or schools in different areas reach out and they love to come and celebrate, whether it's through music or a lunch or sharing Christmas cards. And it really is lovely to see that intergenerational collaboration. This is what a monthly calendar might look like. So each of the buildings, I specify lodges. This is an example of what it might look like. So this will go up and go out each month. And some of this is AWC Activity and Wellness led, and some of it is senior led. Or we have a volunteer coordinator, and sometimes volunteers come in and have an activity that they'd like to lead or guide. So this is just an overall idea of what that looks like. Uh, I'm just going to skip through this. The other thing that we started looking at is there are a lot of seniors who are very happy to do their own thing, and it doesn't necessarily need to be in a scheduled, planned activity. So if they're just enjoying their free time, we want to make sure that we're providing space or materials or activities that match what they want to do in their leisure time. So if someone is just really happy to read or puzzle or has a craft they want to do, we want to make sure that we're providing things like space and time. Gardening is a big one. We do planting days in the spring and summer in every one of our buildings, whether it's apartment or lodge. And sometimes we have lovely volunteers, the seniors are engaged, but it's kind of making sure that it's guided by personality and preference and what does leisure look like for the senior. We work with service providers and venues that come into the building. So especially in the lodges, we have common space. A lot of them have hair salons or shops or spaces that community vendors, we vet them and they can come in and set up a service. And usually that's like a sign-up sheet. And so then that service and relationship is between the senior and the vendor themselves. So we're making sure that they are a licensed and vetted service provider. And then the seniors have that option of accessing that service. We do things like flu clinics and tax clinics and different things like that. If a agency or a service approaches us and says, "Hey, we'd love to be able to offer this service to seniors in your communities," then we have a whole process we kind of go through and vet them, and then we're able to provide that to seniors in their own community. We talked about the bus outings already. So we have a van and a bus currently that rotates through different buildings, and the seniors are able to sign up when there is a trip available to them of their own interest. This is a big thing. In summer, we have tri-shot bikes. So basically, we have seniors are able to view and engage in their community in a different way. So I believe at this point we have three of them, and we partner with different volunteer cycling organizations, etc. And these bikes rotate during the summer around to all the different buildings and offer an opportunity for seniors to go for a ride and kind of see their surrounding community in a different way. Giving back. It's a big thing for GF. We're constantly looking at seniors and recognizing that they are traditionally a really engaged and active volunteer group. So within our communities, some of the things that they have organized is one is the Great Knitting Giveaway. So we have a lot of seniors who are active in, crochet and knitting and other things. And we also get a lot of donations of yarn. So we combine the two. The seniors have active groups. They during the year they make all kinds of different things. We have scarves, toques, blankets, and then once a year we kind of pool all those things together, and they are donated to various charities such as Hope Mission, Center for Newcomers, youth centers. If you're looking at getting involved in terms of volunteering, and the volunteers come to us from lots of different ways. Sometimes they are the seniors within our own communities. Sometimes they are school, like we have high school students that it's part of their programming, or someone who has an interest that they really want to share. Our new volunteer coordinator is able to, we have a lovely online process that really makes it easy to kind of sign up, share your talents, see the volunteer positions that are available or opportunities, and kind of mesh your own talents and what you're looking for with those experiences. So this is if you go to our gef.org website, it will direct you to this process. We also have a social media presence, so you can follow sort of the things that are going on and the things we're celebrating and highlighting via Facebook or Instagram, or we do have a connection or community connection newsletter that is available. These are the things we were talking, sort of the things that guide us. So our pillars of aging well. So the things that we are focusing on and looking at. So we look at things like physical health, mental and cognitive health. We're so used to focusing on the body and our physical health, but we really are expanding that and looking and understanding that thriving in a community is not just physical. It's your mental, your cognitive, your social, your emotional. So we look at these type of things when we're deciding how we want to move forward and adapt some of the programming and volunteer positions that we offer. So I'm going to pop out of this and pop into the application form. I just wanted to give you kind of an overall idea of GF and the difference of programmings. So when I look at the application form, I'm hoping you guys can see this. So applying for GEF can happen. I'm just going to pop into chat really quick and see if I'm missing anything here. Okay, nothing so far. Okay, I'm just going to rattle on. Again, I'll definitely open up for questions after. So GEF, when you're applying for our housing, there's a couple different programs that we've touched base on. So we basically stream it into apartment and then lodge. When you're applying for seniors housing, you have to choose one of those programs. So if you're going onto our website, you're able to kind of see some of the differences that I've talked about today. It'll clarify it a bit more. And then you kind of decide, now that I'm applying for this housing, am I looking at applying for an apartment program or a lodge program? You use the same application form. So this application form is available in a couple of different ways. You can call us and we can mail one out to you, a whole application process or package, sorry. It's also available online. So you can fill it out online and then scan and email it or fax it or send it to us. And then we will absolutely look through it. If there's something that we need in terms of more information, we'll reach out and we'll let you know that we received your application and kind of what those next steps. So I'm just going to, when you're looking at completing the application form, I'm going to just sort of look at it. One of the big things that we really need before we can move forward is a notice of assessment. Now, this is just an example. It's blacked out. I have had some people think that this is what we need them to do with their NOA. It is not. Please leave your viable information unhighlighted. So the notice of assessment is basically every year when you submit your taxes, they're going to send you back a assessment or a summary. Why we need this is twofold. One, it shows us your most current financial situation. And the line 1500, which you'll see highlighted here, is what we use to calculate eligibility. And then as you are matched into one of our sites, this is what they use to work through your rent calculation. Every year, they're going to ask you for your most recent. So now that we're kind of flipping forward to 2024, as the tax, I believe it's the end of April, usually in the summer months is when they're going to start asking for the newest notice of assessment. So if you're already living in a GEF building, what will happen is when you move in, they will take your most current notice of assessment and they will calculate 30% of your rent based on your total income for that year. And it looks like it's a 1 year lease, but it's saying that for this year and this notice of assessment, this is what your rent is calculated at. Every year, they're going to ask the senior, the tenant or resident, for their newest notice of assessment. And the idea is that your rent is always reflective of your most current financial situation. So if your rent goes, or if your total income goes down, so will your rent. If it goes up, so will your rent. We're always looking to capture what is the most current financial statement for you. So you again will have, 50 different suites with 50 different seniors living them, and they're all paying a little bit different because it's geared to those individual incomes. So we need that notice of assessment in order to ensure that where your rent is geared to your income. We ask for it at application stage for a couple of reasons. To apply for social housing, the government sets those standards of what it looks like. And for the apartment program, there is a threshold. And what that means is there is a minimum and maximum amount. So I shouldn't say minimum, sorry, there's a maximum amount of income. So if a senior is at the maximum amount or lower, that makes them eligible to apply for seniors housing. If they are over that threshold, then we have another option, which is called our terrace program. It is a flat rate rent, which is still 10 to 15% less than market value. But if your income doesn't fit the qualifications for the subsidized apartment program, then we do have a few buildings that offer that flat rate higher rent, but still below market, that allows for a higher income level. In the lodge, there is no threshold. So someone is able to apply for a lodge. That 30% will be calculated according to their income to a maximum amount. So if a senior is coming into lodge with a moderate income, there is a maximum amount of rent that will be charged, but they don't have that same threshold. So when we look at what we're asking for in application, to qualify for seniors housing, there really are just three things we're looking at. So are you a Canadian citizen or permanent resident? We look at your status. We look at, are you 65 years or older? And does your income meet that threshold? So when you're applying, these are the things we're looking at. You can apply by yourself or with a co-applicant. Sometimes that's a spouse or partner, but we've also had situations where it's it might be a sibling or a best friend, or we've even had like a 90-year-old mom and her 69-year-old son who are looking for a 2-bedroom because they support each other. So if there's a co-applicant and you're looking to live in the same unit, then you can use the same application form. If you are applying, sometimes we have spouses or partners that are looking at lodge, but they'd like to have their own individual suites, then we would look at 2 separate application forms. So what we're gathering on the application form is just the basic information. So we're looking at your legal name and your birthday. We're looking at your citizen, because again, your status helps us determine if you meet that basic eligibility. We look at your marital status. Part of the reason we ask for that is notice of assessment. So if you're single or, are we looking at one income? Sometimes people, if they have recently separated or have had a loss of a partner, there can be complications with the notice of assessment. And that just alerts us that we have to dig a little bit deeper, and we're looking at those one-on-one situations. Language spoken. If an interpreter is needed in terms of anything that we're doing, including the follow-up interview or when we're matched or when they're doing their show and offer or lease signing, we want to make sure that we're giving that there are no barriers for the applicant in terms of understanding the process and moving forward. So if an interpreter is required, then sometimes the applicant has someone they'd like to use, or we can reach out and we have some services. We're looking for the most current NOA, so the tax year and what that line 1500 looks like. And again, that helps us assess if we can move forward with eligibility and what program that the applicant might be geared towards. So we're looking at address, we're looking if you lived with GF before, and that just helps us in terms of, are you familiar with the services? We ask about smoking. Why we ask, it's not a barrier to the application, but all of our GEF buildings and sites are non-smoking. We have a clean air initiative within our buildings. We do have in every site, whether it's apartment or lodge, there are designated smoking areas. Generally, they also are covered options. So whether it's a gazebo or something similar, very few of our lodges during the cold months, a couple of them have ventilated indoor smoking rooms. But truly, the encourage outdoor smoking to keep the fresh air initiative for those who choose not to. Always looking at an alternate contact. Sometimes they dive more into this in the lease, like you're looking at who is going to be your emergency person. But here, what we're looking for is just if we're unable to contact you, whether it's for the application or at the time you may be matched to a site, we just want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence. If we can't reach you, is there someone else that we would be able to contact? What is your current situation? So are you owning, renting, currently housed? Some people have stayed with family. So we're just looking at some basic information. So if you are renting, then we look at that information. Part of our follow-up is if you are renting, we do a housing reference check. And basically, the questions that we ask, will be provided a copy of that. So there's no surprises, and we're just looking at what does your rental history look like, are you appropriate, were there any concerns for communal living, those kind of things. It doesn't mean that is if there are issues, it's a detriment. It just means that we're aware of what are the things that we might need to work around or be aware of so that you're thriving in the community you choose, and we can look at those issues not becoming issues again. If you were given a notice to vacate, a copy of that sometimes help because again, we can look at what was the reason. Is it because the property was sold, or we can negate if something negative is going to come out of that. Let's talk about it right away, and then let's see how can work through that. GF is pet friendly. So there are stipulations around what type of pet. So it's one dog or one cat. The size of the dog matters just because if you're living in a lodge or in a one-bedroom apartment or a bachelor, we want to make sure that the space is appropriate for the animal as well, because that's going to be their home too. So we want to make sure it works. When you are applying, if you need a copy of the pet policy and application form, you can click here and or ask for one to be sent to you, and it'll explain all of those the policies and what we have. Lots of people when they come for the interview, if you have a dog and it's appropriate for dog, we ask for them to join you because that's a really good way for us to make sure that the animal, that your pet is going to do well in communal living as well, right? So in terms of the pet, just the basics are you have to have had a relationship with the pet for 3 years or more. So we're don't think it's an environment where brand new puppies or kittens are going to thrive. So we're looking at what is your connection with the pet. So we've kind of set that at 3 years or more. They have to be spayed, neutered, and their vaccines need to be up to date. And those are kind of the requirements we look at. all of that is outlined in the on the application form. So yeah, but I think it's really important to identify that pets are often a family member for a lot of seniors and a really lovely add to their overall wellness. So once you've filled out that, then this is where we look at what are you applying for? So again, you can only select one type of housing. So are you looking at apartment or lodge? So again, we talked about the apartments being just like you would live anywhere else in the community, except the apartments here are all 65 and older and they're all accessible. The lodge program is what we talked about being where those extra supports of meals in a dining room, cleaning, activity and wellness, 24-hour staff. So once you've sort of decided, you know what's going to best mesh with my lifestyle and my needs right now, so you're going to select one or the other. So say you say I'm an apartment applicant. We have options. So a lot of our buildings are only one bedroom, but we do have some that offer a bachelor option. So bachelor is like a studio. So it just means that there would be no division between bedroom and living room. It's just like one big studio. You do have your own kitchen and bathroom. We do offer two bedrooms. They are prioritized for co-applicants. So when you have, two people applying to live in the same unit, they are prioritized for the two bedrooms. Very few of our buildings have more than one two-bedroom unit. When buildings were built, apartment buildings, they generally only had one or two, the idea being that the manager for that building would live in that unit. So yeah, they are few of them, but we do have them. And then what we do is we do prioritize them to co-applicants. Again, we're looking the options for an apartment. We talked about it really quickly, but subsidized. So if your income meets that criteria, so I believe right now for a one bedroom, it's 30,000. If your income is that or lower, you can apply for subsidized. Subsidized affordable is our terrace program. So currently we just have three of them. And that's when I was speaking to that fixed rate. So if you are over the threshold, your income to be in subsidized, you can look at subsidized affordable. So it might be a set rental amount, but it's still going to be 10 to 15% less than what you would pay if you went and lived in an apartment anywhere else in the city. We do have one program that has an affordable, and that's for a generally a much higher income, and it's only one building, and then that would be like almost like living in a condo. So you're going to have underground parking, balcony, but the rental rate is significantly market value-ish. So you have to have a higher income to support that. If you're applying for the lodge, the options are a single room or a double room. The difference being space. So a double room does not mean that there's a separate bedroom. It just means that it's made for two humans. So the room size will just have extra square footage. In the lodges, each lodge, the double room looks a little different, but it definitely is an increase in space. The only time that we would look at a single applicant going into a double room would be if their income level can support. The double room has a slightly higher lodge fee amount. So if someone comes to us with a higher income and they're looking to have just a little bit more space, if their income can support that, and if we are unable to fill that room with co-applicants, so if there's no couples or co-applicants currently on the wait list looking for a double room, then our next step is to look at seniors with applicants that have a higher income that could support that extra space and fee. So the type of lodge is subsidized, which is again, if you meet the 30%. And then we have an affordable. So Saka Terrace, again, Saka is in Mill Woods. They do have again, kind of larger with some more amenities at a fixed rate that is higher. Moderate income could support it. So if that's also an option. So if you go onto gef.org, you will see that we have I'll click onto that next. We have a basic map that shows the areas in the city where we offer lodges and apartments and the terrace programs. Sometimes people prefer to stay in an area of the city where their supports are, whether it's family, doctors, just like grocery shopping, an area they're familiar with. You'll be able to see, hey, what GF buildings are in this area that I want to stay. You can indicate on your application that I'm looking to be in this area or that I'm looking for these buildings. Some people don't know and just leave that blank, and then we discuss that at the interview process. We chat about, hey, where are you currently? Where are your supports? Where are you looking? And then we talk about sort of the buildings that would be in that area. Sometimes people are coming from a rural area, or they're currently unhoused or transitioning from maybe a hospital, and they really are just looking for the anything that is going to be the most recent vacancy. So something they can connect with, and area isn't as important. But if there is something that you're looking for, an area you want, this is a great way to indicate it. We ask if you need parking. Sometimes some of our lodge and apartments, as we are slowly renovating or doing suite turnarounds, more and more we're putting in walk-in shower options. If that's something that you require or need for mobility, you can indicate that. The difference between just a walk-in shower unit and a barrier-free unit is that barrier-free is truly made for someone who is in a wheelchair or a scooter or something, where the cabinets need to be lower. Some of the kitchen cabinets, like the sink, don't have a cabinet underneath, so you're able to access it, wider doorways, etc. So you can have an accessible unit that may be like any other unit, but there's a walk-in shower. But a truly barrier-free unit has all these other barrier-free things such as the wider doorways, etc. We try and get an idea of what your timeline looks like. Are you looking, hey, I don't want to move over the winter, or I need it right this minute? This kind of gives us an idea. We'd love to know how you heard about GF. This really helps us gauge where a lot of our applicants are hearing about us, and where our message is being I don't know when I say heard, but so sometimes it's family, friend, is it a social worker? How are you learning about GF? That just kind of guides how we reach out. If there's any other information, sometimes people just fill this in, or they have an attachment. Sometimes the applicants come from a family member or a social worker, or yeah, an external source. So sometimes they add some information in terms of why they're filling it up for the senior, or if there's alternate contacts. So when I talk about sort of our buildings, we have added this on. So it gives you an idea when you're searching out sort of what area of the city you want to be in, what we offer. So this is sort of how the apartments we offer are placed around the city. Our affordable apartments, and then our lodges. So you can see sort of, hey, I'd like to stay in the West End or the North Side. This kind of gives you some options of where we offer them. Uh, okay, so that is our housing application form. So once you fill it out, these are all fillable online. So once you fill it out, you can save a copy and send it to us via email, or you can fax it in or print it off and send it to us. You can also just print off the application as is and fill it in handwritten or hand printed, I guess is what they prefer. Whatever works. We used to have, or we're working on an option where you could have just sent it directly, but currently that system is being updated. So once we have that option again, where you can just submit and it would come to us for online directly, that's another option. It's just not available right now. Okay, so this is a lot of me yakking. So I'm going to try and get to some questions now. I just wanted to, oh my goodness, let me get out of here. And let me get out of, can I move this out of my way? Okay, so I'm going to get out of all this good stuff, and hopefully that gets you back to me. Okay, so now I'm going to pop into the chat. Also, if you have a question, just feel free to unmute and chat, and I'll try and ask. So I'm just going to kind of scan through. what I've seen so far. So one of the questions I'm seeing is, can a person on income support apply for lodging 65 or older? Yes, generally, I'll speak to two things here. If you are under 65, 60 to 65, we we used to look at those applications in terms of a bachelor unit, or if there were units that we were unable to fill from the wait list we have. Unfortunately, what has happened over the last 3, 4 years, and I'm sure this is no shock to anyone, is we are like in a crazy housing crisis. We, even with all of our lodges and buildings, we have no vacancies. Now, that being said, we don't sign leases, so it is a month to month. So with apartments, we never really know because people just give like a 1 month notice. Or sometimes they move to higher care or higher, and we generally don't get notice for either of those. So we're never fully aware of what's coming up unless it's on a month to month basis. But our wait list right now, you're welcome when you apply to pick, some people pick one building, some people pick all buildings. You can be on the wait list for as many buildings as you want within your program. So again, either apartment or lodge. And then what we do is the government has social housing has a scoring system. So once the application comes in, I hate the word interview, I really do, but the senior meets with a housing coordinator. And at that time, we really are just having a conversation and we review the application form. What's your current situation? What are you looking for? What are the supports that you have in place right now to thrive in the program of your choice? And then we're also gathering information. Lodge and apartment have separate sort of scoring credentials that we have to look at. That interview kind of lists the information we need to create that score. So when you're applying for a program, apartment and lodge, you're not just going to the bottom of the list. Once you've had your applications in, everything looks good, you're scheduled for an interview with the housing coordinator, you have that interview. Part of that is gathering what communities are you looking at and what's, we can help sort of determine it's going to meet your needs. And then we gather that information, you're put into the system, that score is created based on that information, and that's where you populate. So people always want to know, where am I on the list? We can't speak to it because it's captured in a moment of time. So you and I could have a chat and I could go back and I put you on the list for like 3 apartments and you could be in the top 5. But in the meantime, a housing coordinator is interviewed and their scores are higher or lower, and that changes where you are. So it's not just subjective, it's not first come, first serve. It really is based on reflecting those that have the highest need, whether it's economic, unhoused, social, physical. Those that are in the most need, their score is going to reflect those high needs, and that's who we're going to hopefully find safe housing for first. Everyone deserves to have their own home and feel good about it and feel safe in it. And that's kind of what we're looking at. So those with the highest needs are kind of going to populate higher scores at the top of those lists. Every building has a different list. There are some buildings that are so popular, maybe because they're the only one in that area or they're really close to great services. So it depends. We encourage a senior to pick 2 or 3 or more choices because that's really going to increase your chances of a more timely match to a vacancy. Did I even answer that question? Okay, so let me scooch back up here. Okay, so back to that's it. 64 years. So if we have a unit that we are unable to match to someone who is 65 or older, then we will look at candidates working age down. So then we'll look, is there people, applicant who is 64 years old? Do they have the income to support that? Then we would look at maybe matching them. The thing with under 65 is that you're not receiving all of your benefits yet. So we need to ensure that your income, whether it is income support, age, something like that, does it support you thriving and able to, afford to live in the program of your choice. I'm not sure if I missed this. Lease term. So it is month to month, whether it's lodge or apartment. It'll look like a 1 year because it's based on your notice of assessment. So basically, that 1 year is saying for this year, based on this income amount, this is what you're going to be paying. When you next year's comes up and we recalculate your rent based on 2024 notice assessment, it'll look the same thing. But it's say you move into a lodge and 2 months into it, you're like, oh, hell no, like this is not for me. You just have to give that 1 month notice. Sometimes when people go to emergency situation or might end up in hospital or higher care, then we prorate it for that month. So it is not, you're not locked in for a year. Okay, a couple of questions. What's the longest a couple has been on a wait list for GF housing? A couple, wow, I don't know. Because it's based on their score. So the only program we have is the three terrace programs where it's that income is higher over the threshold for subsidized. And it's that fixed rate. In the terrace program, it is not based on social housing. It's not subsidized. So it really is first come, first serve. So it goes to your date of complete application. So once your application comes in, everything's complete, you're placed on that wait list, it's date of application. Because there are only three of the terrace housing right now for us, and because it is a first come, first serve, those can be longer. But for a couple, if it's based on score, it's based on need. So if a couple's looking for a 2 bedroom, sometimes the wait time is longer because we only have in our inventory, like I said, you might have 50 suites in a building, but one is a 2 bedroom. So yeah. So I don't know the average time it takes to be connected. Uh, if you're not eligible for GF or you're getting an interview. If you're not, if when your application comes in and something's missing or you're not eligible, it's flagged right away, and someone, the front desk ladies, the admin assistants that process those will reach out right away and clarify or let you know. So you're never gonna like wait and wait and wait for an interview and then find out you're not eligible. Eligibility is so basic. It's based on those three criteria, like citizenship, your income threshold and your age. So right away we kind of know. What the interview does is it's looking at, are your needs best meshed with the program you like? So are you apartment? Are you lodge? Do you have the supports you need to thrive in the program of your choice? And where do you want to be? And what does that look like? It's more of an information gathering in terms of the scoring and viability. It's not about eligibility at that time. What are some implications if the lease is discontinued? I'm not sure that question. So sometimes when somebody comes to us when they don't have a rental history or a housing history, or there might have been issues in their previous tenancy, we look at a fixed term lease. And basically all that means this is a trial period. So if you don't have a history or the history might not be great, or we might indicate that, hey, like, you have some barriers and higher needs that might not allow you to thrive in an apartment, but you want to give it a go and you're connected with supports, then we might do like a 3 or a 6 month fixed term lease. And it just means after that time period, we're going to talk about, did that work for you? Are you thriving? Is it the right community? Were there any issues with your tenancy? You're going to be very aware when you move in. There is a form that goes through the expectations, just in terms of generally, are you like, a decent human, and you paying your rent and all those good things. And so they look at that, and if there hasn't been and you're thriving and it's a great fit, then there'll be a continuation. So sometimes it's just a trial period. Lodges. So if the lease is discontinued in a lodge, again, if generally the only reasons that someone in a lodge would not be thriving is because their care needs have increased or the barriers have increased. At the point where that happens, we work with AHS. So Alberta Health Services Home Care does a basic evaluation. Beyond the lodge level, Alberta Health Services is the next step in in supporting what that housing looks like. So if someone has higher care needs, whether it's physical, cognitive, and they are not thriving in the lodge, then it comes AHS gets involved and they move forward. So until a placement that's appropriate for those needs, then you're in the lodge till the right program can be. Very rarely is a lodge tenancy, yeah, terminated for any reason other than higher care or yeah. You have to be a really not lovely human, I think, for that not to work out. Okay, so we're running out of time, so I'm going to try and get to some of these. If we submitted an application today, how would soon would be able to secure housing? Okay, so basically, if they meet those criteria, they get their application in, it needs to be processed. By that, I mean they look at it. Do you meet the criteria? Are you missing any information? If it's an apartment application, they're going to send a letter saying, hey, when you're ready for the next step, call us and make an appointment for an interview. A lodge application is going to say, hey, we got your information. We're good to go. We're going to reach out to you for an interview. The difference being that usually for a lodge, sometimes those applications come from a family member or a social worker or a healthcare provider. So it's not as direct as the senior calling us to schedule. But in an apartment, they're usually yeah, higher independence levels, so they can reach out to us. So between sending your application in and someone reaching out or you getting an interview, it's 2 to 3 weeks. From that point, when you have your interview, then it depends on so many different things. Depends on your score, your needs, your choice of buildings, vacancies. So there's no time factor. If something is highlighted as urgent, and by urgent, everybody sometimes says it's urgent, but by urgent, if you are currently unhoused, some people have moved into a hospital and have lost their or are unable to return to their home because it doesn't meet those needs. Things like that are usually flagged. And then we have a housing team of 3, but I oversee that team. And because I have a social work background, sometimes I take those interviews that are more urgent. And it doesn't mean that it's going to get them housing sooner because, again, it's based on a score and need, but it does kind of move that process forward. Asking 5 weeks going to college, an update, but I thought I'd ask. Okay, if there's a lag between when your application came in and you haven't heard anything, it could be a couple of things. Maybe something was missing and the application was incomplete, or a letter was sent and it didn't reach you. If it's an apartment program, the letter would say you call us. So you're going to want to make sure we have all the current contact information. If it's a lodge, you're always welcome to call. Like advocate call to say, hey, I put this in, where are we at in the process? It takes us a couple of minutes to look it up, and right away we know kind of, has it been processed? If there was a flag with an issue, what is it? Have they tried to contact you? So yeah, absolutely call and touch base. I think you guys, that's kind of all I see in chat. Okay, so just in terms of time, we have 2, 3 minutes left. Is there something, oh, I know what I'll do for you. If there's a question I haven't answered, or you think about it later, I'm going to give you my direct email, put it in the chat. You are welcome to reach out to me, and I can try clarifying. Or if you go on to I'm going to put that on here first. So if you go on to gef.org, that's our website. It'll have all our contact information. You can email, call if you have some questions. It will show you a map of the city where our buildings are. You can do a virtual tour. So like if you're saying, I really want to see the difference between apartment and lodge, pop onto one of the apartments and it'll show you the area. There'll be photographs of the building in terms of outside, inside, a suite, the bathroom, the laundry room. It'll do the same thing for lodge. So you'll get a visual. I might always recommend that that's a great place to start in terms of, I'm a visual person, so going online and seeing pictures helps. If you have questions directly for me or you'd like to know more, I'll put my direct email here. And you're welcome to reach out. And if I don't know, I will absolutely connect you with who does. So that's me there. Um, Oh my gosh, you guys. That was a lot of stuff in like 60 minutes. But hopefully that gives you kind of an overview of the process. And I know that it's not always a great message, but unfortunately, at this point, just to give you an idea of like occupancy, maybe even 2, 3 years ago, we would process like 4 or 5 applications a day, and we had a like this lovely kind of we could meet the needs. Today, we might get 30 to 35 applications a day, and maybe, I'm not a mathematician, social worker, but 30 applications a day versus maybe 20 to 30 vacancies a month in all of our buildings total, that doesn't add up. So what that creates, unfortunately, is this lag in the need and what we're able to offer. So I encourage your patience, but I also, you know, that being said, because it's based on needs and a scoring system, I encourage that if you have someone you're working with or a family member, or it's you that really is not safely housed and needs it, put that application in. Let's have those conversations. Let's see what we can do. If we're unable to give what's needed, we also have lovely connections in terms of other housing supports. Nobody leaves here empty-handed. Doesn't mean that, other housings, aren't in the same situation we're at, but, we're able to offer some alternatives and always open. So the last thing I'll say is, yeah, get the applications in. We do our best. Be patient. That interview is actually just a conversation. I hate that word. Sometimes seniors come in so nervous. It's just a chat. And then the other thing I want to note is that once a senior's in, and if they come across things that they need help with or they need to thrive, we do have a team of outreach workers that are each portfolio has one that's kind of works in there with them. So the senior can, once they're in, if you need help, even with things like address change or connecting to food supports, or there's also in-house support because we really want to make sure that it's not enough just to have a roof over your head. Really want to make sure you're thriving. So there's some supports there. I did put my email in there. Oh, direct message. I need to put it to everybody. Yeah, sorry. Thank you for flagging that. So I'll put meeting group chat. And so, yeah, so I'll put both. So gf.org is our website. And then I am Denise Popple at gf.org. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see that now. Um, Will the outreach worker meet a potential client in the community for an intake? No. Yes and no. I don't want to say no, but generally, they can connect them to an external source because that's kind of what we do. We're a link to resources, but our caseload is such, like, can you imagine 4,000 tenants and residents and 4 social workers? But it doesn't mean that it's not a great start. Okay. So hopefully everybody saw the email. If not, my name is Denise, and you can call here and they direct your call to me. But thanks everybody for taking some time out of your busy day. And yeah, have a good rest of what are we at? Wednesday. Okay.